we go. Perfect. Good job. Hello, everyone. But say hi when you jump on so I can see your comments. I have one person. Hello. I don't know. I don't see your name on there, so I'm not sure. Hi, Lee. Okay, I'm gonna turn that light just a little bit off because it's shining right in my face. Hi, Deanna. Okay, so we have 3 people here. I'm sorry I was a minute late. We were trying to switch the camera so you could actually see me today versus just my hands. So now that we have the camera straight, you'll notice I look to the side every now and then so I can see the comments on the TV screen so I don't miss any, so I can answer your questions. So feel free to ask questions while we're going along. I posted a picture today of my marker maintenance that I've been working on. I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 color families, so I still have a long way to go. So the supplies that you need to have for your marker maintenance is, well, I'll tell you what I have. You can have whatever you want, but what I have is this jar. And in it is baby wipes that I cut into small pieces. Hi, Stacy. So I can use them if I need them while I'm working, and they have the alcohol 90%. So I just bought the isopropyl alcohol from the store and added it to a jar that I got from Michael's really cheap. And I added the baby wipes in there just so that I would have them handy if I need them. Then I have a bucket of Q-tips, which you will use a lot of. So make sure that you have backup just in case. This will probably get me through most of the rest of the marker maintenance, but I have a whole nother one waiting for me for just in case. You need a scale, like a little mini scale like this. Hi, Shirley. This, as long as it measures in grams, in grams, you're good. So mine, I switched it over so it measures in grams, and I lay the marker on there and then look at what it weighs. I have this tool right here, which is not necessarily a have to have, but it's extremely helpful, and it is for replacing the nibs in the marker if the nib is bad. This just makes it easier. I used to, before I had this, just use a napkin, pull the nib out by the base, and you're fine. So either way, it's up to you, but this is super handy. It's got some little teeth on it. I don't know if you can see them, but it's got some little teeth on there that make it really easy to grip that nib and pull it out. Then I have a list so I don't forget to tell you anything. And then I have some handy tools that we sell in the shop that just make life a little bit easier. So I have, this is called our refill station. It has a platform to put your Q-tips on or whatever you're using. And then I don't know if you guys know for sure, but there are 2 kinds of refills. These are the old bottles. They look like this. They're pretty easy to squeeze and pour into the marker. Hi, Rinska. I don't see any comments, so if someone could just say hi so I can make sure I can read the comments, that would be super great. Otherwise, Dale, can you log in and make sure there's no questions I'm missing? This is the new, when you purchase refills now, unless you find someone who still has some old ones, this is the new one. It doesn't have as much in it, but it's about the same price. So kind of a bummer, but not much we can do about that. So when you take this off, there's a very long tip on the end, and this bottle is, I mean, I'm squeezing really hard and you can tell it doesn't have a lot of give in it at all. So it's extremely hard to squeeze, especially if you have problems with your hands like I do. Hi, Gayla. Hi, Kina. So it's designed, this one was designed more to drip into the bottle, take the nib out, drip the liquid in, and then they switched it up to take the nib out and put this entire piece down into the marker, and it's supposed to help fill the core a little better. I don't do it that way. I never have. I'm going to show you my method, and I've been doing it for 13 plus years and I haven't had any problems with it at all. So this is not an official, like the way that Copic would instruct you to do it, but this is the way that I do it. Oh, are we freezing? Okay, we're back. Sorry, we froze. I can see the screen, so if it freezes, I'll stop and then I'll pick up again so you guys won't miss anything. So I'm just going to say one more time, but after I say hi, Essie, hi, Denise. This is my method of refilling. I've been doing it for 13 plus years. I haven't had any problems, so it is my way of doing it, and I just love it, and I'm happy with it. So I'm just going to show you the way that I do it, and hopefully that'll help you as well. So I definitely don't see any comments. Can you please go on there and tell me what the comments are so I can answer people? Because oh, there they are. Hi, Rachel and Harlan. Hi, Harlan. Hi, Michelle. Okay, I'm seeing them now. Thank you so much. Hi, Linda. Hi, Cheryl. I can see you now. Okay, yay! Yes, Rinskett did freeze. I saw it freeze, but I'm going to try to keep going again. Yes, a short glitch, but I saw it freeze on my screen, and so I stopped. So just hang tight if it freezes. Just wait until it comes back, and I'll resume where I left off. So those are the refills. Make sure you have some isopropyl alcohol because, and I'll tell you why that's really useful here in a little bit. Q-tips, which I use. Napkins. I like the really thick ones, but you know, any napkin's fine. The refill station is super handy. This is what holds the new refill bottles so they don't fall over, because if they're open and they fall over on your desk, it just is not fun. It's expensive and nobody likes to waste their ink. Hi, Adele. So we've made this nifty little thing that we have in the shop. It also comes with this piece right here. And what this is this is to hold the marker for you while you fill it. So for an example, when you take both caps off, and you must take both caps off when you fill it, and the marker sits right down in here. I'll hold it up close. It doesn't touch the bottom. It leaves a space so you can watch if you start getting to the overfill point, you'll be able to see it on the nib. So that's handy. Plus, if it does overfill, you can just clean this right out. It's very simple. Believe me, I've done it. And then I have another tool that Dale designed for me that is not currently in our shop, but I really love it. So I tore the tendon in my hand a couple of years ago, and my hand is weak. And so he designed this, so you'll see me use this. It looks like this. If you guys like it and think that you would use it, then let us know. I can talk to Jamie and we could potentially put it in the shop. But you just squeeze on it. It's very flexible, has a hole in the end, and you just push the refill in there, and then you can squeeze here, and it makes it so much easier to squeeze the ink out. We've sent it to a couple of people to test out, kind of see what they think, but I'm loving it. So just to let you know. So you can see my desk right here has all my stuff. I work on color family at a time. So right now, currently on my desk, we have all the YGs. So I'll pull them out of my Copic marker case one at a time, turn my scale on, and I'll just start weighing them. And if they're 13.8 or higher, they go in this pile, which all of these fell under that. If they're less than 13.8, if they're 13.5 or, you know, whatever, then they go in this other pile over here. This one is to just clean the barrels and the caps, and that one is to refill. So I go through a whole color family and keep it there just like that, and then I go through and clean each one of these, and then I go into the clean and refill. So I'm not going to make you watch me do every single one of them, but I wanted to have them separated so I would be ready to show you how I do it. So some of my refills will be the old and some will be the new, because I had the whole set before they changed it. So whatever I've used the most has now become this. Notice purple. And then this one has just a teeny bit left in it. Don't worry though, I will never run out, because when my refill gets down to about here, about, you know, a third of the way, I order a new one, so I never run out. So this one is almost time to reorder. So while I'm doing this, I also keep a little note handy of any nibs that I need replaced if I don't have any, and any markers that I find that are messed up or caps are cracked or anything like that. I make a list of what I need to order from Violetta Ink, which you can find on Jamie or my Instagram. We have a link tree. I'm not sure if it's in the Facebook group, but it's definitely there. You can find it that way. So I found 3 markers already that have cracked caps, which is very disappointing. BG11, E50, and YR04. So I'm a little bit sad about that. Oh, and V12, which is, I'm really sad about. Yes, you get your markers from Violetta Ink. Yay! Hi, Joy. Hi, Lynn. We have a lot of people here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Step 1. You want to take your marker out and you want to weigh it. So this particular marker happens to be YG93. I lay it on there. It's 13.9. So generally...
How do you find a crack?
Oh, how do you find a crack? I'll show you. I will show you that. Which is why I was asking for a flashlight earlier. So if I can use your phone, that would be great. Okay, so this one weighs 13.9. So 13.9 to me doesn't mean that I have to refill it. So it goes in the non-refill file. So once I have all my not refills, I open them up and I check the caps. So this one, not too bad. Not too bad at all. It has a little bit of gunk in it, so I am going to clean it since I have it out. And this happens to be like a full cleaning session. So what I do is I take my bottle of isopropyl alcohol. Now, it's important to know that you can clean the barrels and the caps with this, but the caps have to be dry before you put them back on the marker, because you cannot touch the nib with this type of alcohol. It's very bad for it. So I take my little Q-tips and I stick it in the water, in the alcohol. And then I take my Kleenex and I just touch it, because I don't want to put too much alcohol in this cap because it'll take forever to dry. So then I just start cleaning the outside wherever I see ink, all the way down into the center part. And usually I go all the way down to the bottom because it can leak out a little bit. And then I take the dry end and I dry it out. I don't usually put them on the marker right away, so I always clean the caps first. Yay! Okay, just checking to see if there was any messages. So I clean the caps out really, really good. So see, this is already turning green, so there was clearly some stuff in there. And then And I usually have a pretty bright light when I'm doing it so that I can really see inside that cap. Right now we're using the light so you guys can see me, but most of the time it's right here over my desk so I can really see. And then I take this and I'll rub it along the top, but I do it pretty slow because you do not want to touch the nib of that marker, but you can clean these areas with the top of this. And you can also do it like this or whatever way is easiest for you. If you're afraid that you'll touch the nib of the marker, then use the Copic colorless blender solution, and you can get this at Violetta Ink as well. It's just that it's pricier than this. So the cheaper version is to use that on the caps and the nibs, and this is what you use if you need to clean close to the nib or if you're afraid. So, okay, so I cleaned those caps. Now, this marker does not need filled, so now that they've had a chance to dry, I put them back on, and they go back in my box, which is always right there. Okay, so if I weigh a marker, and it weighs really low, so I'm a regular marker maintenance gal, so generally mine aren't ever less than 13.5 before I'm refilling them. But I put this marker on the scale and it said 11.8. And so that to me tells me there's a leak somewhere in that marker. So I took the caps off, and the marker, you can see it's dried out on the tip. Like, I mean, really dried out. So I took the other one off, and it's also dry. Completely dry, which means even if there wasn't a crack in the cap, the barrel of this marker is ruined because it's completely dry. So I wanted to see what happened. So let me see if I can show this to you with Dale's flashlight into the marker, into the cap, because holding the light, this isn't a very bright light, honey. You're not going to be able to see that one. Let me find one with a bigger crack. I have one with a really big crack in it, so that'll make it a little bit easier. I believe it's this one in one of the ends. I don't care if I leave the caps. Okay, there we go. All right, so when you look into, let me see if you can see it. When you look into the marker, okay, there it is. So if you shine a light, can you see the crack? If you shine a light on the cap, you can see the light shine through it. So thumbs up if you can see it. Roberta Sadler, hello. And Rhonda and Joy, everybody. Oh, there's so many people here. Hi, Tammy. So were you guys able to see that? I'll try it again. One more time. You can see the light shining through the cap. See when I move it and I put it back? And that's how you can tell. If you just look at your caps with the light and just rotate it in your hand, if you see that crack, that's it. You're done. That marker is goner. So that's how I identify there's a cap. So usually there's some kind of clue, like the marker, you just got it, or you've just filled it and all of a sudden it has no ink in it. And then you know something is wrong. Either the cap doesn't stay on very well, it doesn't get a good connection, or that it's cracked. So you'll want to look for the crack just to confirm. And when you take the caps off your marker, make sure that you don't twist them. This will cause the cracking of your cap. So you will always want to pull it directly straight off the marker. Don't twist, never twist. That will crack it for sure. So when I told Jamie I had some cracked caps, she said, Well, stop twisting those things. I said, I'm not. Yay, I'm so glad you guys could see the crack. I'm switching to Olos because of this. I can't take the caps off correctly, prevent the caps. I can understand that if that's what works for you. You're a twister. Yeah, you want to stop twisting because it really is bad for the marker. And you can train yourself. I used to take them off like that when I first got them. I would always twist because they come off so much faster and easier that way. And then I learned that that causes a problem. So I've retrained myself. You guys watch me in the video. I pull them straight off all the time. Why is there some that are so hard to get them off and they are clean? Because I clean them all the time. Okay, so try switching the ends. I don't know why this happens, but I have a few markers, and this might be a good example, where it's really hard to get the cap on, but this side doesn't really fit. So I think that it's just like a defect or something that, so if it's really hard to get off one end, I would try swapping them. Woo, slippery little sucker. Joy says you're not going to find that you're happier with Olo. But, you know, it's to each his own. Is why I can't grip them and take the caps off. Yeah. I could understand that being a problem. And if you can't, then, you know, you notice that too. It isn't every marker, though. It is not every marker. That is true. It is not every marker. I have a lot of markers that fit great on both ends. But I have a few that give me some trouble with which end I put it on. Thanks. I like the glasses frames too. But these are my favorite right now. It changes all the time.
There's going to be small manufacturing variances because I even experienced that with 3D printing.
Yeah, so it's just a manufacturer difference, and there's always a variant in that. Dale was saying when he 3D prints, he sometimes comes up with a little bit of a variant as well. So, I mean, it just happens. If it bugs me enough, I just buy a new marker and throw the other one away, or send the caps to someone who wants caps for their cracked markers. So, with that being said, it's a little bit challenging. You can get them off. It takes a little bit of work. Let's see if I can do it without looking like a silly goose. But if you keep your markers that have cracked caps on one end, the other end, this number comes off. So instead of throwing away the other cap that's good, you could replace it on a marker that has a broken cap, and then you don't have to buy a whole new marker. So that's another alternative. These do pop off. They're a little tight, so it takes a little bit of work, but a little I just have some regular old cheap tweezers here, and I just stick them between that crack at the top and just kind of work that cap off, and then you could use a different cap on there. Yes, we do wear the same glasses and swap caps. We do it all the time. We love it. So that's an alternative to buying a new one. I usually am impatient and I just want a new one right now. So I usually just order a new one. But I use them all the time, so that for people who probably don't want to buy a new one, so save the one that's not cracked and take the cap off, and then you can possibly use it on your next cracked marker. So anyway, that's that. And hi Belinda. So let's get into how do you refill the marker if it's low on ink and it needs to be refilled. I have one here that is very low on ink, basically because it's one of Jamie and I's favorite, and she was here using my markers too. So this one is actually 12.9 and it's YG03. It's one of our favorites, but you can tell. See, look at how gooky and gross that looks. So when your markers get like this and you get all this caked in color, and it's significantly darker than the color of the marker, then you know that you have dried ink and pigment inside your cap. Now, what will happen if you leave this in here and you keep putting your marker in and out? If you get new caps for them, can you still keep that marker? Yeah, I think you can. Not the one that dried out though. If it dried out, it's dead. It's a goner. It ruins the core if it dries out. So you can't save it. If it's completely dried out, you can't save it. So back to all this gooky stuff. Gummy, jelly, what I've heard it called a lot of different things. And what it is it's when you close the marker, you touch the ink somewhere on the cap. And then over time, it builds up and the alcohol will evaporate and the pigment will stay in there and it will gunk up your nib. So it will clog the nib and it won't, the nib will start behaving incorrectly. It'll feel sticky or it'll skip or it just won't work right. And so I know, look at that gross cap. Oh, that dry out one. Yeah, no, if it's dried out, it's a goner. Hey, Jamie. Yeah, there's some dirty ones. I saved the G's for now because I knew they were dirty. But I had quite a few that were not. So I was super happy about that. I'm about halfway through cleaning them. So when they get like this, and I've seen them way worse than this, or this, you have to clean them. This is what the maintenance is for because this is so bad for the nibs. And if you don't want to have to buy and replace nibs like this, then you definitely want to do some maintenance on them regularly. So my suggestion is to keep a little cup sitting on your desk. I actually use my my little clutter caddy, and I have one open box of it. And what I do is when I'm working with my markers, if I have one that's really, really, really dirty, when I open it up, when I'm done coloring, I put it in that bucket. And then at the end of the evening or before I start coloring again, I clean it. And that way I don't have to go through this all marker cleaning thing. It's like 2/3 of mine right now. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm cleaning, because I am prepping for the retreat.
What happens to the nib with the cap being all gunked up?
So I did say that already, but what happens to, I'm going to go ahead and clean the cap while we're talking. What happens to the nib when all that gunky stuff gets on your nib? It clogs it. It clogs the nib and the ink can't flow through it. So when you color, it might give you like a sticky residue, or it just won't go on smooth. Hi, Ivy and Patty. And so it starts behaving incorrectly. And a lot of people think, oh, my marker is crap. Now I have to get a new marker. You don't. You just have to replace the nib because it's clogged up from all of this, which is why you want to keep these clean so you don't have to do that. There are two reasons to replace a nib. One is you've clogged it up by dirty, yucky markers. And sometimes that can happen a lot with a highly pigmented ink. So you have to be really, really careful. Do you clean with blender refill or alcohol? So I clean, you're right, I did go over that in the beginning. I clean the caps with isopropyl 90% alcohol that I buy at the store because it's cheaper. And it's fine to clean the cap with it. You just have to make sure it's dried out before you put it onto the marker, because you cannot touch the nib of the marker with the alcohol from the store that's like 90%. So I generally clean it out with the marker that has alcohol on it, and then I dry it with the other end that has no alcohol on it. And then I set it aside and give it a little bit of time to dry while I'm cleaning the marker. You can clean the barrel of the marker with the alcohol as well, which is what's on this tip right here. You just have to be very careful not to touch the nib. So depending on how much you trust yourself on not touching it, I've been doing it for a long time, so it doesn't bother me to go along the top and clean it off without touching the nib. It took a little practice. I used to do it really slow, and I used to do it in this direction so I wouldn't go over the edge. But as long as you don't touch the nib of the marker, you can clean it with alcohol. Sometimes I'll take this and run it along. If I feel like I can't do it, I'll just put, if it's too gunky, I might actually put some of this on a napkin and then run it along the edge like this and clean it up. What happens if you touch it? If you touch the nib, well, you shouldn't really touch the nibs. There's a lot of myths about that. So some people think the oil from your skin will clog the nibs. And that's been like said by a lot of people. My hair's longer than you thought. I cut 2 inches off today. But when I put a brand new nib in, I touch it. I do. I pick it up and I stick it in, and I haven't had any problems. And I've been doing it for about, 13 years. So they say not to do it at Copic, but I haven't had any problems with it. So I kind of leave that up to your own personal preference. So I have cleaned the outside of this marker, and I've cleaned the caps. But we weighed it was 12.9. So now it needs to have more ink in it. On top of that, I just know from using this marker that this nib needs to be replaced. And this is the second reason why you would need to replace a nib. So I'm going to hold it on my scale so you can see it up close.
So what if you touch it with alcohol when you're cleaning it?
Then you probably want to replace the nib because you don't want that alcohol to go into the barrel. Into the core of the marker. So I've done it sometime where I just went, oop, and I haven't had any problems with it. But if you are soaking it with it, it's really bad. So what happens if you touch it with alcohol? I think she meant if you touch it with alcohol, it just corrodes the ink and what is the word I'm looking for? It deteriorates the color and changes everything. So I would not do it. Used to color, my finger would touch a nib, and then that spot on the nib turned colors and got clogged. I could see that happening if you consistently touch it, Jamie. But I only touch it when I put them on there. So I try not to touch it once it has ink in it. But when I'm putting it in there, it's just easier to make sure it locks in place by touching it. And I'm going to show that to you in a minute anyway, and I'm going to touch it. So so you'll get to see mine. But my hands are clean when I'm doing it. I'm working with alcohol. I'm working with colorless blenders, so I feel pretty confident. This one, I know the nib needs to be replaced, and I'm going to show you how I know. So the fibers will eventually break down over time in the nib. So when you have a new one, and I'll show it to you once I put the new one in, but this one definitely needs to be replaced because when you touch paper, look at how much this nib bends. Like with no pressure at all, this nib just bends like crazy. That tells me that the fibers have broken down in the nib and it needs to be replaced. It will make coloring easier because easier once I replace it, because right now I tend to get fatter brush strokes because the nib is broken and flexible. So I'm going to take the little tweezers I talked about. You're going to grip it all the way down at the bottom. And then you're just going to pull it out. So this is what it looks like. And I'm going to actually touch it and get green all over myself because I want you to see if you pull from up here, you're going to pull the top off. See? This is what the nib looks like. There's a little soft cover over the core part, and this is the part that feeds into the core of the marker and brings your color to the edge. So if you pull this off, this becomes much harder to get out. That's why this is more handy if you pull it from the base. So now I have lots of...
It's easy to break the nib.
Show the broken nib? I did show them the broken nib. So now it looks like this. So now it's really broken, and that's the second time I dropped it. You can't put it back on there, you can't fix it, and when the nib's been like so easy like that, that means it's already broken down. So I throw that away. I get a new one out, and this one I actually have one left in this set. Sometimes I just put it like, I'll hold it in here and put it back in the marker like that, and sometimes I'll just take it out and stick it in like that. That's the only time I touch them. So this marker's low on ink, so it's not going to fill up in here, so I'm going to actually pull it back out so we can put some ink in there. Bye, Jamie. So it was starting to get some, you can see, but I want you guys to really see how it refills. So I'm going to stick this in my little holder here, and I'm going to grab the refill, YG03. And yes, I have them all on the floor in a case. This one is one I use a lot, so it happens to be the new refill. So if I wanted to, and this is the way that Copic generally wants you to do, is to stick this all the way into the core and then squeeze. I don't like to do it that way. I don't know why. It just bugs me. What if I don't get it in the right place? Am I going to squish the core? Whatever. So I try not to do that. Yes, watching the nib is so satisfying. So I'm going to put this in here, and then I'm going to drip, I hope you can see that. I'm going to drip the ink right into the barrel. I need a lot in this one because it's it's at 12.9. So I'm just filling it in, and then you can weigh it as you're going along. Of course, it doesn't have a nib in it, so it's going to weigh a lot less. Let's see, let's put some more in there. I kind of have some experience on how much to put in there. If this is on the table, it's a lot easier to do. If you're trying to do it holding it up in the air, you might drop ink all over it like I did, see, and just wipe it off. So let's put some more. It's not full yet. Fun refilling. Yay! Okay.
So Cheryl's asking about the tool you're using.
This tool right here. I did talk about it. So Dale made this tool because I would have to hold it like this to squeeze it, because this is really hard to squeeze. This bottle is extremely hard to squeeze. My hands start shaking, even when I'm doing it with two hands. So Dale made me this little tool so that I could squeeze it and not have to do all of that struggling. We have we don't have them in the shop yet, but we are talking about, if you guys have a need for it or want it, let us know so we can start making it and bringing it into the shop. I did already.
The front side, where it has the grooves, so you're able to grab it.
He's talking about there's grooves in here that hold on to the bottle so it doesn't, fall all over. It doesn't, get messed up, so. Okay, so I'm cleaning off this barrel because I spilled the ink all over it, which happens sometimes. You want one for sure? That's awesome. Okay, well, I'll talk to Jamie about getting those in the shop as well. They should be fairly inexpensive. Okay, so I'm going to put this nib back in there. Since there's no ink on it, I'm going to actually touch it. You have to press it all the way down until it's seated in the spot. Don't leave it hanging out because then it won't have the contact and it won't work as well. You vote for that? Yes, older hands, exactly. So now I don't think the marker is full yet. Let's see. 9.1. I have 3 more. I'm going to let you guys watch it fill. It's starting already on the side. It's really satisfying.
So what should marker weight be when full?
Okay, so with the caps off, 9.4. With the caps on, 14.2. And that's where I fill them to. You can do it like give or take 1 or 2 grams and you should be fine. Yes, the new refill bottles are very hard to squeeze and I hate them too. A refill squeezer tool too? Okay, we'll talk to Jamie about the so it filled it up. We'll talk to Jamie about the refill squeezer tool. I agree. I mean, Dale made it for me. I have it on my desk. I use it. I figured since I was doing the video, I didn't want to not use it. So now you'll know how. So I'm going to put this pen in here. And this is usually how I fill my markers. I don't take the nibs out. I don't do any of that. I drip over top of the nib like this. So if I have to refill it and I don't have to replace the nib, then I just refill it like this. And you can do either end. It doesn't matter which end you use. I use this end because it helps me clarify if there's a clog in the nib. So if there's a clog in the nib, when you go to put the ink on it, it's going to just go bloop. It's not going to go down into the nib. Like this one soaks right into the nib. So I know the nib is good. But if it just runs down the side of your marker, that tells you the ink is not getting in, so it's not getting out, which tells you there's a clog in the nib. So you have 2 ways to fix that. You can just replace it. Sometimes, if it's not too bad, I'll take the nib out and clean it with colorless blender and then let it dry 100%. Let it dry overnight and then I'll put it back in. And then you can reuse it or you can just replace it. Either way, it's kind of up to you. Every tool he makes for you, we all need. Anything to make it easier for our hands. Yes, exactly. So, I just put the ink right over there. I've never had a problem with it. I've done it ever since I've refilled markers. And you can put a lot of ink in there for a gram. This is now at 9.2. So I could be okay with that, but I really like mine to be at 9.4. Just because, that's where I think they function the best. It might cause me some problems on the airplane to have them at 9.4 instead of 9.2, just because they'll expand a little up on the airplane. And so I'll have a little bit of gushy when I get to the show.
What is holding your marker while you refill?
Oh, what is holding my marker? So we have a refill station in the shop. So this is it's just a little stand. It's open so you can see if the marker is overfilling. And it comes with this holder that holds your refill so it won't fall over on your desk. And it's called a refill station. We have it in all different colors. You get both pieces. And it's in the shop. And we even have it in the shop right now. The only part that we don't have in the shop is this piece right here, which was just something Dale made for me. But it sounds like we need to make it for the shop. So I added more ink to it. This one's starting to look like it's filling a little bit more, so that is great. Now we're at 9.4, which is where I like to be. So if I can find the cap, here it is. I put it back on my marker. I'm going to stick it in my refill station. I'm going to put my caps back on, and just for grins, I always weigh it again after I finish filling it. 14.1, so I'm happy. If it's anywhere between 14 and 14.2, I'm good. So now this is done, and what I do is I lay it on my marker box for just a little bit. I don't know if it really makes any difference, but to me, I feel like it needs time to soak and equalize in there. So I lay it like this for a little while, and then as soon as after I've refilled 2 or 3 more, then I just put it back in my case like this. I always store them upright like this. I always store them with the brush nib up. I don't know. It's just my thing. So let's see what else we got. We got to put YG03 up so we don't put it in the wrong marker. So let's talk about that for a second, because that's really, really, the clamp really needs to be part of the refill station. Yes, it should, but we didn't think about it when we created the refill station, so it's not part of the station. So let's talk about. Yes, it is. It was born out of my frustration. I was so frustrated by it. So let's talk about the markers. They have the numbers on the end. So it tells you this is YG07. It's also on the barrel of the marker, right there. So when you get ready to refill, you want to check here, you want to check here, and you want to check your refill bottle. If you put the wrong color in your marker, that's it. You can't fix it. I did it. It doesn't work. So I put E00 in my E000, and then it was just darker. It wasn't the true color anymore, so that was kind of a bummer. Let me see if I can pick one that I use all the time so it'll be dirty. Well, they're not really that dirty. Really need to crash after my trip. Just got back and out. Okay. All right. Good night. We're going to go. I'm going to see if I can show you one that has. Oh, yeah. This was one. I need to refill this. I mean, I need to replace this marker too. Look, as soon as I touch the paper, it just goes whoop, which tells me that this nib is like a goner. On top of that, I probably should anyway, because look how gross that marker is. Nothing is worse than watching videos on YouTube and seeing everybody's markers look like this. This makes me super sad. I almost want to cry. Anywho, so this one is YG67, and I use it all the time. It's 9.1, so clearly I refilled it once before, but I didn't clean it. So it needs to be cleaned. So I'm just dipping in the alcohol. I have a lot of alcohol in here when I dip it in, so I just kind of roll it on a little cloth, and then I start cleaning this out. Cleaning out this cap. I start at the top because once you get into that gooky, it's going to change your, I mean, this one is so bad. Look how dark that ink is in there. It's really bad. So I just clean it from top to bottom. So when I put the first Q-tip in there, especially with the dark color, gonna look like this, and see how it gets some liquid down in the bottom? And that's why I'll wipe it again with another one. I do go through a lot of Q-tips. You can do it however you want, but that's the way I do it. Darker colors take a lot more, but when I do the really light colors, like I generally start with the lighter colors so that I can use the Q-tips more often. for a longer period of time because I can clean the lighter ones with the same Q-tip, but once I get to the really dark colors, that's it. It's a goner. So I'm cleaning this one out, and then we're going to take a dry one and wipe it out just to make sure I got all the gooky out and that I didn't leave any ink in there. Hi, Christine. Hi, Kathy. So now we have this, which is so much prettier than what we had a few moments ago. So I'm going to clean this one as well. So generally, if you put the same cap on the same end every time that you use your marker, you will only have to clean one end of the marker. And trust me, that's the best way to go. If you have to clean both ends, this is going to take you so long to do. It's a very long process. It's very tedious. It makes your fingers hurt, but you can watch a lot of murder, death, kill shows while you're waiting to clean it. So this one is now clean, but I still have this problem. So it's very thick on there, so I'm going to start with these Q-tips. And I am not, remember, do not touch the nib. I'm just going to go along here and loosen up all this gooky stuff that's on there. I just want to loosen it up at first. Just want to loosen it so I can get it off of there. Once I have it all loosened up, I'll use another end that has a much cleaner one, and I'll go through and just clean any of that excess off of there. And then I'm going to clean down here on the barrel. You can clean all the way down on the barrel if you need to with this alcohol. No problem. And because I had so much and I know I got a lot of liquid on there, I'm just going to use this little napkin and dry it off. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to do the same thing with this end. Okay, so now we have a clean-ish. This one is stained because this marker is probably almost 15 years old. So it is now stained with a dark green ring, but as long as it's not ink, it's fine. So now this is YG67. These are YG67. This says YG67.
So
how often do I have to do this? And this is YG67. We have to make sure you have the right one. So generally, and on a general basis, when I'm at home a lot and I'm just, you know, like I'm not doing all that traveling and stuff, I just, as I'm coloring with them, if I see one that's dirty, I'll put it in my little, you know, clutter caddy or cup or something like that. And when I finish coloring in that session, I'll clean it before I use it again. So this whole sweep of cleaning all my markers at one time happens when things get busy, and then Jamie and I visit each other and I use hers and she uses mine, and then I lose control of how many are dirty or what I need to do. So I'll just go through and clean all of them. And I do it, I would say quarterly, when I go through and like just check them all. But I'll refill 3 or 4 markers or 5 markers periodically, or clean them or whatever. Sometimes I'll even stop in the middle, you know, I'll be coloring, get to a stopping point, and I'll clean it right then because I just like them to be clean. But, you know, that's me. Hi, Pam.
As you're using a pen to color, is there a behavior it does when it's getting low on
Yeah.
on ink?
Yeah, it is. So if your pen starts getting, you know, scratchy, or you can feel it's not going across the paper as smooth as it used to, or it's dry on the this end but not on this end, then you know you're extremely low on ink and you really need to get some in there right away, or you're gonna ruin the core. I can tell by holding it like this. So this is how I weighed my markers for a really long time, and I learned how heavy they had to be. So when I picked them up, I could tell if it needed to be refilled. That's how I refilled all Jamie's the first time I did, was I just weighed them all like this. It's just, you know, but not everybody can do that. You use them every time you use them. That way you don't have that many to do. If you wait and clean from start to finish, it can take days. I started this last night, worked on it for an hour or two, and then I've been working on it a lot today, and then I'm sure I'll have to do it tomorrow, and it usually takes me a couple days to get through it. So this is the old refill bottle. This one squeezes a whole lot easier than the other one does. So I put the marker in the little holder, and then I just squeeze this over top. And this is much harder to do if I'm doing it up, if I'm holding it up, than it is because I just missed the marker. I don't do this all the time, I promise. I'm usually really good at this. I don't have spills very often at all, but holding it up so you guys can see, I keep spilling the ink, which I'm okay with because it's a training, learning session. But let's see, I need to have the light because I think this one, it's not going down into the marker. So let's see if you can see that. Can you see where it's wet and dry? It's kind of blurry. I'm trying to wait for it to focus on it. But when I put this ink on, it skips a spot. When see how there was a dry spot on there? That tells me that this nib is not that great. There is some kind of messed up something right along the bottom here. It's kind of shiny right now. You can see it. It's right here. It's telling me that this nib is not that good. And we tested it, and we already know we have to replace it anyway because it's bad. So since it's not filling properly, I'm going to pull it out right now and throw it away. And then I'm going to get more nibs because I always have them on hand. And I'm going to put a new one in the marker. So this one is going to go in here. You got to make sure you get it all the way seated, all the way in there. And then we're going to let it fill up. So if your nib is good, you refill it. And if bad, you pull it and refill before putting the new nib in. Yes, that's generally how I do it. This one I put the nib in because I'm showing you how to do it. But normally if I have the nib out already, I'll just fill it without that. Or I'll put this nib in and I'll start filling the other end, this one, while it's trying to, because you can refill on either end. It doesn't really matter. But we're waiting for this one to start. See how it's filling in? It's so satisfying to watch it do that. I love it. Sometimes I just sit there and watch it because I think it's super cool. Hey, Angela. So don't get fooled if it's going slow by thinking it's, you know, like, oh, there's not enough ink in there. There's not a lot. That's not the case. If I put the cap on this end, it's going to fill really fast because it's going to push that ink to one end. And right now it's trying to equalize it. So it's going to take a little bit for that to fill in. It doesn't mean your marker's empty. Because right now my marker is 9.2. So if my marker's 9.2 and I want it to be 9.4, I have just a little bit more to put in here. And this is so easy to squeeze compared to the other one. Oh my goodness. 9.5. I went a little over. I'm okay with that. As long as it's close, we're good. I usually look like a Copic mess when I'm done. Okay, so this one weighs good. I'm going to put one cap on one end, one on the other end. I've already cleaned them. I weigh it again just to make sure it's 14.2. That's exactly what I want it to be. And then I lay it over here and move on to the next one. And then when I get a stack over there, I put them all back in my case. So, they sell a holder so you can squeeze while it's stable. Yes, it looks like this. We haven't put it in the shop just yet, but it is coming. It's the squeezer. I don't know what we're going to call it, but it goes on the refill bottle like this. And let me see, this is V15. I think I already filled V15, but I'll check and see if it, yeah, it's 14.2. I don't want to put any more in there. But this marker it has a broken cap, and so I'm just going to end up throwing it away anyway. And so I can show you.
This is why you put your
and this is why that exact scenario I just showed you is why you put your open bottles in this, so you aren't wearing them. So this goes in here, okay, in case anybody hasn't seen this, the sweet squeezer. It has a grip. It has like grips on here that will grip the bottle, and then you just squeeze from here and drip it on there. And it's so much easier, I'll show you, than trying to do it without. So if I were trying to do it without, I could get maybe 2 or 3, and then my thumb is killing me. So I put this on, and I can squeeze a whole lot more before I have to worry about, and it comes out faster, and it's just better. So it helps with the whole, like, I used to hold it with 2 hands, and Dale came out and he was watching me and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I can't squeeze the bottle.
That's why I made the pen holder.
It hurts." So he made the pen holder to hold the pen, so I wasn't trying to hold the pen and squeeze at the same time. It was so I could hold the pen, put the pen on there, and then use both hands to squeeze the ink. And then later he was like, "Okay, well that works really good, but still you look like you're struggling." So he made me this. It's a one-hander. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're right-handed or left-handed. It's not going to matter. You can use either one. But you only have to use one hand versus the 2 I was doing before. So it's been a life changer for me. I would say it won't be too long before we get them in the shop, since you guys really want them. Dale just has to print them, and then we can put them in the shop. So just give us a couple weeks, and we should be good. Well, maybe not even that long, because I'm about to go up there to Jamie's house. We'll try to get them done before I go up there. I'm going up there on the 12th. So hopefully before the 12th, we'll have some done that we can put in the shop. It gives you more torque, so more ink comes out, and it makes the hand steady. That is so right, Angela. And you know, because
It's mechanical.
you sampled it, didn't you? Didn't we send you one to test it out? I think we did. So I did just put V15 and the V12 marker, but this one has a cracked cap, so it doesn't really matter. But I wanted you to be able to see how it worked out. So, yes, a tester. She was a tester. She happened to come over when Dale was making it, and so we asked her to test it out so that it wasn't just me, it was someone else's opinion of how well it works. So, yeah. He is a good hubby. I will keep him for sure. Okay.
And I flexed it about 1,000 times.
Yes, he flexed it like 1,000 times to make sure it wouldn't break and all that good stuff. So let's see, on my notes, I want to make sure I didn't forget to tell you guys anything. So recap is, this is 90% alcohol, isopropyl, whatever that you buy from Walmart. Really cheap, with baby wipes cut up and put in it. regular Q-tips, doesn't matter what kind of Q-tips they are. You can go to Dollar Tree if you want. That works just as fine. If you're nervous about using the alcohol because you think you'll touch the nib or whatever, then you should be using this. This is what I used for the first 2 years, but it got really pricey and I started having trouble finding it. This is colorless blender. This is exactly what is in your zero marker. This is what's in your zero marker. So when you refill this marker, you refill it with this. The same thing. Yes, many, many years. So this is the same stuff. So you can use this with any of your markers because you're already using it when you use your colorless blender. So then there's a scale that does grams. You need it to do grams. You need to do them to 9.4 without the caps on, 14.2 with the caps on, or somewhere around there, 9 and 14 or whatever. As long as you're close to that, you're fine. It doesn't have to be exactly that.
You got yours off Amazon, correct?
Oh yeah, I got mine off Amazon. It's, take a snap if you want. It's backwards, so sorry about that. But it's just a cheap digital pocket scale. As long as it has grams, you're fine. I think I paid maybe $7 or $8 for it. It was cheap. It comes with a little cover like this. So I leave it on my desk all the time. When the cover's on, it doesn't wear the battery down because you can't accidentally put something on it. So it kind of just keeps it secure. It was really cheap, but it's super handy and I like it. We also have the tweezers to pull the nibs out. Yeah, Amazon under $10, exactly. The tweezers to pull the nibs out. You can use these. These are the ones from Copic. They're actually Copic. I've worn off the word Copic though because I've used them so much. They do get dirty up in here, so make sure that you're cleaning that out before you're touching the new nibs with it, and it's super simple to do. I just use this alcohol and clean it out. It'll sometimes get pretty gooky up in there, so just make sure you're cleaning it out periodically. You don't have to clean it between everything that you do, but as long as you do it sometimes, they're fine. They'll dry now and they'll be fine. If you think you might have to replace nibs, these come in a 10-pack. This is the chisel end. Comes in a 10-pack. Don't ask me why they do these in a 10-pack when I barely ever replace these. And these come in a 3-pack and I replace them all the time. It's a little backwards on that. So let me show you what it looks like. In the package, I have a lot of them. I always have them on hand because I never want a nib to break on me and I need it. So this is what it looks like. You can take a snap of it if you want. It is backwards, but it's the Super Brush nib. They come in a 3-pack. You can get them at Violetta Ink. So when you're ordering your marker or refill, you can order your nibs as well. I usually order a whole bunch, keep them on hand. I order so many, it won't only let you do 10 at a time, so I just text her and ask her for more. I usually only have one of these. I barely ever buy them because I don't replace this one, mostly because I don't use the chisel end that much, only on big backgrounds, which I don't do all the time, but I do sometimes. This is the refill station. This holds your marker, this holds your ink and your whatever else you have, your caps and all your good stuff. So there's that, and we sell this. It's in the shop. When you're using your markers, if you have one of these color blend stands that we sell in the shop, I use the color blend stand like this. I put them in upside down, but you'll know what I mean. So I put the caps in here. I always put the cap for the brush nib on this side and for the chisel end on this side. That way I always put the same caps back on so that I don't have to clean both sides of them. So that helps me keep it straight. That's a personal preference, but I like it. It makes life easier for me. you bought some nib tips and you're not a fan. Yes, we will be adding the purple station. This, we just sold out at the show. So Dale's got that on his list of reorder. So yes, we will have purple, teal, pink, black, white. Did I miss anything, honey? Purple, teal, pink, black, and white. That's it, right? Yeah. Those are the 5 colors we usually do. Oh, the bullet nib. You're talking about the bullet nib. You can get bullet nibs for these if you want. I don't like them, but I don't like them. They're not me because I like the ability to be able to do the brush strokes and get like design my own kind of stroke. I think a lot of people will use the bullet nib for certain things. I know Jamie has a few of her markers that she replaced the chisel end with the bullet end. And she uses it for certain special whatever. And if you like that and that works for you, then you could do it. But it's going to be pretty pricey to replace 358 nibs with new bullet nibs. But to each his own, whatever works for you. How do I clean my caps? You must have just jumped in. The brush nib is best. The precision I can get with that. Yes, I like the brush nib. To put them in that mason jar. Oh no, I never dip them. So I tried that. That's a good question. I tried that. I took a little, like a little bowl. Somebody said, take a little bowl, put some blending solution in there, drop your cap in there, and then why would I ever do that? Then I have to clean the whole cap versus just the inside. So I do not do it by dipping it in anything. It then turns the water green. You got to dump it out. You got to put more in. That's some more waste of alcohol or color blend solution, which to me is more pricey. And so I don't do it that way. So I use Q-tips. They're cheap. You can get them at the Dollar Tree. I stick it in the alcohol, the isopropyl alcohol that's 90% that I can get at my Walmart. I take that Q-tip and I clean out the inside of the cap, just like this. Once I have that cleaned out, I'll wipe it with the other end one more time with alcohol to make sure, especially on a dark color, that I get all that color out. And then I'll dry it with another one. And I'll use this one to dry it out like for about 15 markers because all I'm doing is drying with it. It's all cleaned up. It was quick and easy. That's the way that I do it because for me it's easier and less expensive. So yeah, you've been pushing a little. You've been waiting. Really have learned a lot tonight. Thank you for this tutorial. Truly appreciate you showing how to clean your markers. Yes, you're welcome, everyone. Yes. So does anyone have any questions that I didn't cover? Because sometimes in video like this, I sometimes will go so fast and then I'll hang up and I'll be like, I'll hang up. Sometimes I end the show and then I go, oh, I should have said, or, oh, I forgot to say. So does anyone have any questions about how to fill them? I showed you cracks. I showed you the nibs, when they're broken down, when they're clogged. What else is there? So yeah, it takes a while, but yay, I'm so glad. You're welcome. Can I come do yours? I get that request a lot. I have done Jamie's. I have done another friends of mine. I don't mind doing them. Aw, Adele, thank you. I don't mind doing them at all, but I did tell somebody if they paid for my flight or gave me somewhere to stay when I got there, then I would come and do them. Plus, I get to visit with you, so yay! Or if you come to, I cleaned some at the retreat when we had the retreat. I did cleaned a bunch of people's markers at the retreat to kind of show them how and get that going. But yeah, so I'm willing to help and show and teach and all that good stuff. You just have to ask. If you lived right by me, though, I'd definitely help. That's easy. Oh, you have to order some sweet sentiment paper. If there's some in the shop right now, you better get on it, because right now, I think we sold most of it at the show. We have to reorder, so it might take a little longer. You knew Linda would be watching. That's right. Procrastinating and pick another color instead of refilling. Yes, I understand, Belinda, completely. Come to San Diego and you can crash with me. You know, Adele, we come close to that, don't we? For shows, aren't we usually there for expos? I mean, we still have Sacramento and Ontario at the end of the year, so Micah help you. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Reach out to me if you get to cleaning them and you have a question or a concern or something looks funny. The one thing I did not talk about, because I don't have any, is if you open your marker and you see like a little, what looks like a crystallization or a little fungi or some kind of little bubbly thing growing on your marker, that's usually a contaminated marker. And once it starts showing up on the nib like that, you just need to replace the whole thing because your core is already contaminated. Doesn't happen a lot, but I have opened one, I think, in 15 years. And I opened it up and it had all these little mushroom looking growths all over it, and I just got rid of it and got a new one because somehow it got contaminated. So if you have that problem, definitely replace. Other than that, that's all I got for tonight. Thank you for joining me. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I'm going to post this on YouTube so you can refer back to it anytime you want. If you're currently watching on YouTube, thank you so much for stopping by. And, oh, thank you, Selena. I really had fun tonight chatting with you guys. So if you need anything else, let me know, and I'll try to make a live for it. So thank you, and good night. Mwah! All you sweeties.